the you know obviously we're going to have a difference of opinion in how to solve this problem because you're a Christian and I'm not. And so, my solution to it is, simply involves a lot of what you might call paganism, but it involves a very structured and controlled use of pagan tropes. And so I think that, it's like when people look at Nazi Germany, for example, there's a couple of things, first of all, you'll see, that it's very, very pagan in, almost a lot of explicit ways. I mean, the Nazis claim to have, they're like, we're all German Christians now, and they invented this German, Christian church. I think actually one of the astounding things about World War II is that it was the first conflict in which all of the leaders privately were atheists.
Right.
Hitler certainly did not have any Christian faith.
Mhm.
Let's not even start with Stalin. And FDR basically believed in FDR. The But certainly, when you look at Nazi Germany, it's sort of the most pagan of all of these states.
Right.
And the thing is that the mistake that's made, and that has sort of continued to be made by basically followers of that tradition, is that their paganism is poorly chosen because it's chosen essentially to shock and horrify. It's chosen from those elements of paganism that are most shocking to Christians in a way, and it acquires its energy. It has this energy. I mean, you feel intuitively that Hitler has become the figure of Antichrist in our time, and there's substance to that because the figure of Antichrist that's presented in Revelation is both the sort of mimicking of Christ and this opposite of it.
Mhm.
And so when you see one of the interesting facts, sort of historical, not spiritual, just factual historical facts about the early part of the 20th century, is that in World War I, the Germans are accused of all of these atrocities, which they're not in fact committing. There was this whole lie of this atrocity propaganda. The Germans were described as these Huns. In fact, they had a somewhat pagan view of the laws of war, but they really weren't Nazis. They weren't behaving like that.
Mhm.
And so here you have these false accusations, which is just like sort of classic media lies, essentially. And they worked very much the same way that media lies worked in our time. But after World War I, these lies are exposed. And it's like, no, actually, German soldiers were not cutting off the breasts of Belgian women with their bayonets.
Right.
Like, this was all just like a lie. There was none of this Hun behavior.
Yeah.
And so the consequence of these lies, the devil, of course, is the father of lies. And the consequence of these lies was that, first of all, when the Holocaust was actually happening in World War II, it was not useful as propaganda because the Allies couldn't just repeat their World War I propaganda because it'd be like, oh, yeah, I see. That old trick again,
Yeah.
right? And on the other side, though, what happened was even worse, which was that Germans were essentially presented with a kind of Manichaean duality where it was like, okay, either you're going to be good liberals and accept this, just shit that we've laid on you, like the Treaty of Versailles and all of this, like, oh, we're going to give you an equal peace. Oh, wait, we're not. We're going to starve you after the war. All of this just like really brutal and just shameless treatment. And if you say, okay, I'm going to turn the other cheek, I'm going to respond to this with love, I'm going to be a loving member of the international community, you're a liberal. And then, okay, suppose I'm like not going to let myself be humiliated in that way. What am I going to be? Well, the opposite of a liberal is a Hun, so I'm going to be a Hun. And so you have this kind of almost this inverse mimesis
Right.
where basically the Germans, a substantial percentage of the German people reject this sort of very Christian liberal way to be, and they embrace its opposite, which had started as a fictional caricature, but
Interesting,
doesn't
yeah.
stay in the world of fiction.
So they said,
right?
you want
And
me
so
to be the monster, I'll be the monster. I'll be the
you
scapegoat
want me
you've
to be
been
the
looking
monster,
for.
I'll be the monster.
Yeah.
I'll be the, I'm not scapegoat you're looking for,
Yeah.
right? It's like, oh, well, right? And so they monster up,
Yeah.
and that creates, like, they become the scapegoat. They inhabit the scapegoat, and they make the scapegoat, realer than it could possibly be, and it's so real that it's still being used to frighten children to this day. And not only is it being used to frighten children, it has this, this is the same thing is happening to 15-year-olds all across America today, where they basically, you have some smart kid, he goes to school and he just gets full of this, just like, smarmy nonsense. And, then he's like, well, what is the opposite of this smarmy nonsense? And the answer is Sig Heil, and he's at that point he becomes an internet Nazi. And he embraces, the scapegoat. And the thing is, the scapegoat is, of course, doomed, right? That's the purpose of the scapegoat, is to have its head cut off. And you see, this phenomenon sort of giving all of this strength and life to these kind of really, really dark forces, and dark forces on both sides. And so you're just like, how do you escape from this kind of pattern of what's really pathological mimesis?
Right. And because it's in the Christian fishbowl, so people are always coveting the martyr's perch. So wherever they see a community being scapegoated, it creates this kind of bizarre attraction towards it, because we're so Christian. So it's like, oh, those guys are the untouchable evil guys. Well, I think there's a conspiracy behind that accusation. I think maybe they are the good guys. And so they jump towards that underdog.
Maybe they are the good guys, right? And the thing is that, of course, when you look at any sort of real cause, you'll see that the people in it are fighting for some, vision of the good. So then you look at the Nazis and you find the element of that is a vision of the good, and you're like, okay, Hitler did nothing wrong. And actually you've already doomed yourself there, because in fact Hitler did do something wrong. Mm-hmm. So you've basically occupied a position that's very, very hard to defend. And, so
he did something wrong by what standard, and who's the king? And I know who that king is, right? Which king standards are we judging here? You gotta, you can't appeal to the brotherhood of man now. You have to, because there has to be something bigger than us, right? That's my thing.
By Genghis Khan's standards, did he do anything wrong? I don't know. By Genghis Khan's standards, he lost, so he did something wrong.
Right.
And so escaping from that sort of path